I believe the biggest problem in the world is that people don't understand themselves enough. This show is designed to help you understand your INFJ personality, heal from your past, and create a life that you love. I'm Sarah Kuhn, and this is the Quiet Ones podcast. One of the things that I struggle with the most is a lack of self-love and confidence. Some people call it self-love deficiency disorder. I've spent a lot of time working on this, and I want to share what I've learned with you just in case you struggle with the same thing. On this Thursday episode of the Quiet Ones podcast, we're talking all about confidence. Let's take a listen. I know this has been a really challenging year. There is a lot going on. It seems like every time we turn around, there's something else going on that just feels like way too much. One of the things that comes up for us as INFJs is that we want to fix everything, right? We want to make people happy. And we can see and feel when other people aren't happy. And it's just our natural reaction to want to make everything better. And we tend to bend over backwards to make other people happy. This process is so natural for us that a lot of times we do it without even thinking about it. We agree with what other people say, and a lot of times we just accept their point of view. One of my best friends called this to my attention a while ago, and she has this amazing way of handling it that I'm stealing from her and I'm sharing it with you. She says this really simple sentence that helps so much. It's this: it's not my truth. It's the best thing that I've learned in a long time, and that's exactly why I want to share it with you. So having this in your pocket, being able to respond to something that somebody says about you, or that somebody says to you, or they're like, you should do this, you should act this way, you should think this way. Having the ability to analyze it that way is so powerful, right? Because having this one little sentence, it gives her the ability to consider something without accepting it. So someone called her arrogant, and she considered it, and she decided, no, that's not my truth. That doesn't fit with what I think about myself. So with that, she was able to just release that statement that somebody else made and not let it affect her. I watched her do it, and I was hurt by the fact that somebody called her arrogant. And if it would have been me, I know that I would have held on to that and thought about it and considered it, and it would have been this huge thing that would have bothered me for a long time. But watching her go, yeah, that's not my truth, it doesn't matter to me what you think about me, was completely amazing. So I've adopted this technique too, and I'm telling you, it works so well. I used to just believe everything that people said to me. Whether you want to call it naive or just incredibly trusting or just really accepting, I just believed it. Somebody said it. I figured, well, it had to be true, right? Because I know that for me, when I say something about somebody, it is true. So I thought, well, everybody else works that way too. I was wrong. But my dad used to call me gullible, and I hated being called that. I still hate being called that. But it was probably true for the longest time. Once I got a little bit older, I started to consider a lot of what people said to me without taking it to heart. And I started looking at the reasons behind what they were saying. Do they have a reason to not like me that actually has nothing to do with me? Were they going through a rough time in their life and they just took it out on me? Were they going through a bad day and I was just in the line of fire? Maybe they have a belief about me that I can't control, or maybe they've stereotyped me, which is another thing I can't control. And their lashing out at me has absolutely nothing to do with me. So now that I'm able to consider what people say and not accept it, it makes such a huge difference. It's like holding their opinion away from me, and being able to consider it and look at it and look at it from all different kinds of angles without accepting it as a part of me, without taking it to heart like I used to. And when you do that, you're able to say, is this really true for me? Do I really believe this thing about myself? Is it a problem that I know that I have and that I need to put more work into? Am I just misunderstood in this instance? Or is it really my truth? Am I going to accept it as my truth? If it's not my truth, then it's so much easier to just put it down and leave it there and not carry it with you. As INFJs, we already have so much that we're carrying with us. We don't need anything else. You don't have to accept it. It's not your truth. You can just set it down and walk away from it. I hope that this helps you. I hope that you're able to consider other people's opinions and not take them to heart if they don't belong to you. Another thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is self-care. It's been coming up so much for me recently. I know as INFJs, we have this tendency to take care of everyone else. We want to make sure that everyone else is okay before we even think about ourselves, especially when there's something big going on, when you're talking about a pandemic, when you're talking about being out of work, when you're talking about being sick, or if there's even been a death in your family. We're always worried about everyone else, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a part of how we are made. And it's such an amazing gift that we have in order to be able to care for other people the way that we can. With our intuition and our empathy, we can really care for them in an in-depth way and really show up for them in a way that not a lot of people can. I also want to point out that as INFJs, it takes us a long time to be able to process how we feel. It's normal for us to take 3 months or 6 months or sometimes even a year to be able to process how we feel. And the bigger the thing that we're going through in our lives, the longer that it's going to take for us to process it, right? So when everybody else is going around in February and March dealing with the fact that there's a pandemic and they're being quarantined and you can't do the things that you used to do, we're worried about everyone else, right? We're not really dealing with what's going on inside of ourselves because we can't deal with it right now. A lot of us can't even name the emotions that we're going through right away. It takes us a while. So maybe now that we're a few months into this thing and things are changing again, maybe now we're starting to feel some of these things and really feel what's going on and really be aware of how much we're affected by it. It's important in those times for us to pay attention to our physical and our emotional health. It's important in the beginning when something big happens, even though that's not our first inclination. But it's important also for us later on to be able to recognize what we're going through and not be too hard on ourselves, but to spend a lot of time in self-care. So there are several things that you can do as far as self-care goes. And one of the first ones is so important. Choose to do less. We get so focused on all the things that we can do. We get so focused on everything that we're capable of and all the things that we want to do. And a lot of times we end up doing too much. Just all kinds of things that we want to do, things that we have to take care of for our family, things that we have to do for work, things that we have to do for our friends, maybe our extended family. And all of a sudden you realize that you don't have any time for yourself. It's important to make sure that you are cutting a lot of the extra things out of your life. What's really, really, really important? That's what you need to focus on. Another thing that's incredibly important that has helped me so much is to write in a journal. I have started a morning routine, which I really suggest that you do as well. I go and get coffee every morning. That's the one time a day that I get to leave the house. And even though the quarantine is being lifted, it's still difficult, and there's still not a lot that's open, and I work from home now, which is great, which I love. But I still feel like I need to get out of the house every single day. So for me, I get up, get dressed, I go get coffee, and as soon as I come back, I grab my journal and I write in my journal. And I make a list of 3 things that I want to do for the day. So sometimes they'll get done, sometimes they don't. So like with this one, I had 3 things. I wrote just a little bit, and then I had 3 things that I wanted to do. I marked off 3 things. I only marked off one of the things because actually only one of the things got done that day. But every single day I've been doing that. And some days there are more notes. Other days there are a lot of things that get done, and some days not anything gets done. But at least I know I have 3 things that are the most important things that I need to focus on, and that helps me to stay focused. It helps me to stay motivated, and it helps me to say, okay, I have 100 things that I could do, but these 3 are the most important. And it also helps when I'm able to do them and check them off the list, because I love checking things off the list. So I start with that. And then I also have a book that I read that is inspirational and motivational in some way. I have went through Evan Carmichael's books. I read Built to Serve, and now I'm reading Your One Word. I read Kathy Heller's book, Don't Keep Your Day Job, which is completely amazing. I've read Mel Robbins' book, which is The 5-Second Rule, also completely amazing. And I read a book by Gabby Bernstein called May Cause Miracles, which I also recommend. It's absolutely wonderful. The point is to start your day off with something that inspires you, that motivates you, that lifts your energy and puts you in a good mood and sets you up to have a good day. So start with my journal, make 3 goals for the day, read a few pages out of my book. And it doesn't have to be a long time. It doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours. It can only be 10 or 15 minutes, but it's amazing how fast you can finish a book when you spend 10 minutes every single day. So the next suggestion that I have is to set healthy boundaries. We talk a lot about boundaries, right? We talk about cutting people out of your life who aren't good for you, about stepping away from people who bring your energy down. I really feel like it's also important for us as INFJs to focus on our energy and to set boundaries around anything that doesn't bring us energy. If there's something that's taking energy away from you, especially consistently, and it's taking a lot of energy away from you, I would say you need to step away from it. I'm to this point in my life where I'm like, I don't want to be around anything that's dragging me down. I want to surround myself with people who inspire me, who lift me up. And that includes anything that I'm taking in, anything that I'm consuming. So the material that I read, the shows that I watch on TV, the social media that I consume. If it's not inspiring me, if it's not lifting me up, then it costs too much and it's not worth it. I strongly suggest that you turn off the news. That's my personal belief. I have noticed that it wears me out. And if it has that effect on you as well, if you notice the same thing, I would strongly suggest that you turn it off. You can stay informed by, consuming 5 or 10 minutes a day, or 5 or 10 minutes every other day, rather than to have it on consistently all of the time. And the same goes for social media. There's a wonderful button on every form of social media that's called unfollow or unfriend. And if you're not that committed to unfollowing somebody, or if it's a family member and you don't want to offend them or something, there's an unfollow button, and there's a mute button on Instagram. So you can still follow somebody but not see the content that they are sharing consistently. It makes such a huge difference when you see something, especially when you're scrolling through social media multiple times a day and you see something that just tears you down and you do it consistently all the time. It has such a, it feels like a small effect, right? But that small effect 5 times a day or 10 times a day, every single day, it makes a huge effect. So I really encourage you to take a step back from it and maybe just try it for a while. Facebook has an option where you can unfollow somebody for 30 days or like mute them for 30 days. And it's really easy to find it. On their post, there's 3 little buttons. So if you click those 3 little buttons, then it'll give you a list of options where you can unfollow them or unfollow them for 30 days. And just try it and see what happens. See if you don't feel better in a couple of days. I bet you do. I bet it's a lot sooner than what you think and a lot bigger effect than what you think. I was one of the big proponents before this last year that social media, it's not bad. It doesn't have a negative effect. It's all about what you make it. And I still strongly believe that it is all about what you make it. But I think you should make it something that is positive and that lifts you up, not that drags you down. Okay, so something else is to get outside. It's amazing the effect of sunlight and fresh air, soaking up that vitamin D. It has this amazing effect on you. Plus, if you're getting outside, you're probably going to go for a walk or get some exercise somehow. And that will also have another positive effect on you, which is more self-care. And now that the quarantine is lifted, you have lots of options to be able to do that. Something else that I find really, really helpful is yoga. A lot of people say meditation, right? And if meditation works for you, I really encourage you to do that. There is a little bit of meditation that's worked into yoga. And I absolutely love yoga classes because you get the meditation and the relaxation, plus you get the exercise as well. And it's gentle exercise. It's not really very hard, most of the classes. So I encourage you to do that. There are a lot of apps that you can get now and free classes that you can do on YouTube. So you don't even have to go to a new place. You can take a yoga class right from home. Another thing is something as simple as taking a hot bath. I love baths, and I'm so upset that the apartment that I live in now doesn't have a bathtub. I used to come home every single day and take a bath, and I absolutely loved it. It's just like you can feel all of your worries and cares from the day just melt away. And lavender bubble bath or Epsom salts work wonders as well. And one more suggestion is spend some time doing a hobby that you love. Maybe it's been a while since you've taken some time to spend on your own hobbies. But having some time to yourself to do something that you love, it's like feeding your soul. I recently found my scrapbooks again. You might notice that I have a new setup going on back here with I'm getting some extra bookshelves and getting things set up the way that I like them. And now that I have access to all of my stuff again, I was like, oh, my scrapbooks. It's been such a long time since I've been able to see them and make some new ones. And I'm so happy to be able to do that. And it was just wonderful to be able to spend a day feeling creative in that way again and looking through old pictures. Thinking about all of the places that I've been over the last couple of years and how different things are now. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it always makes me feel better when I can spend some time doing that. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. It helps other people to be able to find us. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you again next week. Hi there. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm working very hard to produce content that will help you, and I really, really appreciate your support. Also, if you want some more inspiration, check out this video right here.